History books are written by the winners, but what about everyone else? The prisoners left to burn, the children sent to war with fake beards, the people who were erased, literally, from monuments, from maps, from memory. This is the version of history nobody handed you in school. Every country, every secret, no country gets a pass. 195 countries, 195 horrifying facts, zero sugarcoating. Wherever you were born, your country did something unforgivable, something buried, something hushed, something that would make your stomach drop if you knew the full story. Today, you're going to know. Let's go. Oman is an absolute monarchy. The Sultan holds total power over every aspect of life and law. Human rights? Not a strong suit. Cuba might look like a paradise, but the first modern concentration camps weren't built in Nazi Germany. They were built in Cuba in the 1890s under Spain's reconcentration policy. Around 170,000 people, roughly 10% of the population, died of disease and starvation inside them. Qatar has laws where a woman can report sexual violence against her and also get charged with adultery. Yeah. Turkey, back when it was the Ottoman Empire, Sultan Mehmed II literally legalized fratricide. If you thought your brother was eyeing your throne, you could legally have him killed. Family dinners must have been tense. Ghana's economy was built on indigenous slavery centuries before European colonization even arrived. That one doesn't get talked about enough. Mexico. The ancient Aztecs worshipped a dog-headed god named Xolotl, protector of the dead. Family pets were sacrificed and buried with their owners to guide souls into the afterlife. Good boy. Last time. Bhutan once concealed the death of its leader for 54 years to prevent civil war. When asked where he was, officials simply said he was on a silent retreat. They passed laws in his name. Absolute commitment to the bit. Romania. Under communist rule in 1950, political prisoners were subjected to the Pitești experiment, one of the most brutal re-education programs in history. Prisoners were physically and psychologically tortured to the brink of death, forced to denounce everyone they loved. Dozens died, many by their own hands. Sri Lanka's Black July riots of 1983 saw over 23,000 Tamil homes and businesses destroyed in 6 days, with thousands killed, all driven by ethnic hatred. Honduras was home to the deadliest prison fire in history. In 2012, a blaze tore through Comayagua prison, killing 361 people, inmates and visitors. The guards didn't bother unlocking the cells. Iceland's 1783 Loki volcanic eruption released a toxic sulfur dioxide fog called the Moduhardindin, the mist hardships, that wiped out a quarter of the population and 80% of the country's livestock. Unlucky doesn't begin to cover it. Belize. In 2006, archaeologists stumbled onto a mass sacrificial cave in the Roaring Creek area containing the bones of at least 118 victims, most of them young children, sacrificed to the Mayan rain god Chak during droughts. Some bones date back 3,000 years. The Gambia's former dictatorship employed the Junglers, a death squad that assassinated political opponents and dumped their bodies in wells. Not ideal for the local water supply. Kyrgyzstan still sees an estimated 12,000 women and girls kidnapped into forced marriages every year. The practice is called ala kachu. Horrifyingly, it's considered tradition. Mauritania was the last country on earth to officially abolish slavery. In 1981, there are still estimated to be tens of thousands of slaves there today. Rwanda, you know? The Genocide Memorial in Kigali still holds the remains of many of the nearly 800,000 people killed in just 100 days in 1994. Ecuador's Shuar people had a practice called sansa, shrinking the heads of their enemies down to the size of a fist. They believed it trapped the soul of the defeated. Compact, portable, horrifying. Suriname, Dutch colonial rule here was among the most brutally documented in history. Dutch soldier John Stedman wrote over 500 pages of first-hand accounts of the cruelty inflicted on enslaved Africans. It's not light reading. Peru once had a Japanese-born president. Interesting. His mass sterilization program that forcibly sterilized over 300,000 impoverished people without consent in the 1990s? Not interesting. Horrifying. Mongolia didn't have things done to it so much as it did things to the rest of the world. Mongol conquest in the 13th and 14th centuries killed tens of millions across Asia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. Malta. During the Great Siege of 1565, defending knights ran out of cannonballs. They improvised by decapitating captured Ottoman soldiers and firing their heads from the cannons. Resourceful, disgusting, both. Bolivia. Spanish colonizers discovered the world's largest silver deposits there in 1545. Then enslaved the native population to mine it for nearly 300 years. Hundreds of thousands died underground. Paraguay lost roughly 80% of its male population in the War of the Triple Alliance. Running low on soldiers, President Solano Lopez conscripted boys as young as 9. They were given fake beards and sent to the front. Equatorial Guinea's Christmas Eve massacre of 1969 saw soldiers dressed as Santa Claus execute over 150 political opponents in a stadium while loudspeakers played "Mary Had a Little Lamb." Santa did not slay. Santa slayed. Ukraine. Stalin engineered a deliberate famine known as the Holodomor between 1932 and 1933, starving between 3.5 and 5 million Ukrainians to death as a tool of political suppression. Cambodia. Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge killed roughly a quarter of the country's entire population in the name of creating a pure agrarian utopia. He cracked about 2 million eggs. By eggs, I mean people. Pakistan. During the 1947 partition of India and Pakistan, witnesses reported ghost trains, locomotives arriving at stations packed entirely with corpses. Passengers fleeing the violence were massacred before they could cross the border. North Korea. If you're convicted of a crime, your entire family gets punished alongside you. Generational guilt. Institutionalized. Haiti gained independence from France in 1804 after a 12-year slave revolt. France's response? Demand 150 million francs in reparations to compensate the slave owners. Haiti finished paying that debt in 1947. The Netherlands, in 1672, Dutch citizens were so furious with their Prime Minister Johan de Witt that they murdered and ate him and his brother in the street. Democracy is messy. Uruguay earned the nickname Latin America's torture chamber in the 1970s and 80s. At its peak, 1 in every 50 citizens was imprisoned for political reasons. 1 in 50. And that's a brief tour of the world. History is a horror show. Every country has its chapter, and the terrifying part is this isn't even close to all of it.